Hey, welcome back, guys. Back at the shop today. Something special. I've been getting a lot of questions about various parts of performance and things like that. So today we're going to cover the fuel system. So you basically need what? Fuel, spark, air, and compression. So we're going to cover, step by step all four as far as my preference and what I think of it, and especially, pertaining to EVOs. Try to kind of make sense or clarify some of the things you might read on the forums or online or whatever. Try to get you a solid answer to what you need so there's no guesswork, at least according to what I prefer as a tuner and builder. So this might vary with other people. They might have different opinions, but this is mine. So a couple of updates. Again, the Subaru is almost done. Just did the timing. Just ready to put in. This is a piston and rods, but stock block, still open deck. And then we're just waiting for a lift for this to open up for this and the 1G. So let's go back into the shop and start talking about fuel. So a couple of components of the fuel system. I mean, every car works the same way. You could, the components are the same no matter what it is. It could be a direct injection. It could be anything. It doesn't matter. So you have the fuel pump. You have lines coming out of the fuel pump. And then you have a fuel rail. And the fuel rail feeds the injectors. Injectors feeds the engine. And whatever fuel is left over goes back into the return line, into the fuel pressure regulator. And then the regulator controls how much pressure is built up into the fuel rail by allowing fuel to pass or not allowing fuel to pass. And then it goes back to the tank. Now there's variations of that. So for example, my Corvette doesn't have a return line. It's an NA. Civics don't have them. So most NA cars don't have them. You can modify to make one, but it just doesn't have them. But it doesn't matter, the components are the same. So specifically EVOs. I'm going to show you, let's take a look at Carl's EVO 10. Okay, so this is Carl's EVO 10. Try to show you. We're working on the fuel system, so this thing is apart. All right. So this is what a stock EVO 10 fuel system looks like. Basically, this is your EVAP or fuel pressure system. It senses how much pressure is in the system. This is the main harness. It turns the fuel pump on and off. This is the return line, and this is the feed line to and from the rail. Okay, and I'll show you the EVO 8s and 9s. It's basically the same thing. Okay, we got one open right now. And then I'm going to show you maybe some modified ones. Okay, so this is a EVO 891. As you can see, same thing. I'm sorry, this is a siphon from the other side, the second tank. This is the main harness. This is a return, and this is a feed. But the components are the same, as you can see, kind of looks the same as well. Good thing is, both of the EVOs kind of, you could put the same kind of pumps when you upgrade. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about upgraded pumps and things like that. Hey, is that, what's the name's car? Victor. Victor? Is the back seat open? Yes. Okay, good. All right, so we got Victor's car here. Maybe we can show you, I can show you a stock hanger that's been modified. More on this. That's the all-wheel drive conversion we're doing on the Lancer. That's the tranny, the engine. Okay, so this is a stock EVO 10 hanger that's been modified. So this is the flex fuel line that we installed. Main harness, so The return line is an AN and the feed line is an AN. We literally just cut it out, tapped, and put a bulkhead fitting. He put a bulkhead fitting in there, but it's not necessary. You can use the primary one to pump it, to control the single pump. But if you wanted to add, or he wanted to add 2 pumps later on, he can use this. So that's a good thing. So these systems will handle a lot of horsepower. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the pumps and everything. So let's start off with stock stuff. If you have a stock turbo, to be honest, no cams, no nothing, stock turbo. Stay with the stock system. If you want to upgrade the pump, I would do like a 320 AEM or ASNU or whatever. I personally do not like DWs. I'm sorry if I'm hurting feelings, but I don't like Deutschworks or Dietschworks, whatever you want to call it. I've had a lot of issues with them. Some of you can contest to that, but I don't like them, okay? It doesn't matter if you like them, that's fine, go with it. But I personally would not recommend that. So, as far as the fuel pump goes, if you are gonna stay with stock block, a 320, even an E85, is gonna be good. If you wanna do the 450, you can do it. But 450 requires, I personally think, a external pressure regulator and a solid return line. The 450 or even the 525 builds a lot of pressure. You have to drill the venturi out, the return line, or do what Victor did, which is tap it and basically put a 6 AN or 4 AN return. So, far as my recommendation goes, with least amount of headache, AEM 320 or 340, even a Walbro. But Walbro will cover you 93 octane, 500 horses. So 320 is a little bigger. I would just do that. If you do want to do 450, you want to do it good, then I would do a return line modification. So that's the pump. Now that's for stock everything, right? For aftermarket, for built motors, I would definitely do a return line with 450 that if you're gonna go 600. After 600, I would just do two 320s or 2 450s or even two Walbro 255s, again with the return line modification and a hop switch for the return line. For the secondary pump. Otherwise, your pump's gonna be on all the time. All this information that I'm giving you can be found on the internet. This is not something I invented. This works. You don't really need to change the stock rail on these cars up to like maybe 600. But again, the stock rail is not really, let me show you one, not really friendly to aftermarket pressure regulators and lines. So you have to buy like extra fittings for them and everything. And to be honest, an aftermarket rail is like 150. If you're going to put the fitting, go with an aftermarket rail. So this is an EVO 8 that has the stock. As you can see, the pressure regulator is built onto the rail. Okay? And running the stock lines. So you would have to get fittings for here and there to fit aftermarket lines like AN fittings and whatnot, and then run an aftermarket regulator. There are fittings you can buy from STM, and I think a couple of companies make them. But like I said, why not just run the aftermarket rail if you're going that far? So that's up to the rail. You don't really need 6 AN fittings, AN lines or anything like that. Again, only benefit would be your return line is modified. That way you can control the pressure better. A lot of people say that, yeah, you can run the stock regulator. You could, again, it's the return line that causes the issues. What else? So that's EVO 8s and 9s, the fuel pump and the hanger. Let me show you, because one of our clients actually, Steph runs that, the aftermarket hangers, but we had someone come in yesterday. This is the Radium, which I like. A lot of people don't like it because they think it's, closed. There's another company that really makes an easy drop-in one, but it's whatever you're familiar with. So this is a aftermarket Radium fuel hanger. Okay, this comes with two 450s, made very easy to install. As you can see, all the connections are labeled. This comes with, you have a choice of what kind of fittings you want for your return, siphon, and all that stuff. You can choose AN fittings for those. So it's a really good system, worth the money. But if you want to put the grease work in, not really necessary for either one of these cars. You could build this system, I guess, for a lot cheaper. Well, I'm lying. Cheap is relative, right? For a few $100s more, I guess you can get this. So it's up to you how much work you want to put in. Incidentally, this client also is going with the AEM full standalone ECU. So we got all the parts right here. We're going to put it on. We're actually putting it on right now. But anyway, that's the hanger. So takeaway from the hanger is 2 pumps for anything 600 or more. Below 600, between 5 and 6, I would go with the 450 for sure. A single 450 is fine. And then below 500 or below 550, I would go with a single 320 or a single 450. But if you do a 450, please make sure that you do your return lines. Okay, next on the line is the lines. I'm going to jumble up the line, the lines that run back and forth from the rail to the tank, along with the fuel rail. We spoke about the fuel rail when it's necessary. It's just convenience, to be honest. Below 600 horsepower, it's convenience, that's all, and maybe even looks. So for example, he's going to run high horsepower, so he needs it. This is an EVO 10 that's a Radium system. We got a couple of other cars, but you basically get it. All the aftermarket, well, most aftermarket rails come with the options for fittings to run your larger AN lines, which is great. And also to be easier to fit a fuel dampener and fuel pressure regulator. Which brings us to the dampener. Now, I'm telling you right now, please, this is my opinion, don't fucking kill me. I have ran cars with dampeners and without dampeners. I would say, I can't tell you, I don't really know why same model, year, make, whatever, with and without dampeners, it runs different, even similar fuel system. There's too many variables for that. But there is a difference in tuning or how stable the fuel is, pressure and everything with the dampener and without. So I made a rule of thumb. I love to just make procedures for things so I can just blindly follow it and get good results every time. And these procedures come out with, I guess, a lot of fails and wins. So I would say anything up to 1200 cc injectors, maybe 1250 injectors, you kind of don't need a dampener. A good fuel system with a good regulator does the job, and good tuning kind of does the job. So that's the rule of thumb for me. 1200 cc's is my limit. After 1200 cc's, I do recommend a dampener. It kind of regulates the pulse that your fuel pump delivers the fuel with, which is good. But then again, I have had plenty of cars, I would say 99% of them do not have a dampener, and they're running like 2150 cc's, and you're fine, to be honest. But if you need it, you need it. It's not that expensive. Well, again, that's relative, like $100. But hey, you have the money, get it. Even under 1200, you might see a difference, but I haven't. So that's the rail. When you need it, I would say needed, other than convenience, 600 plus. I would say you need a rail. Even the EVO 10s, 700-800 stock rails, like, all right. It's just that it's inconvenient to run all those fittings and all the aftermarket helpers like regulators and all those stuff. All right, so that brings us to injectors. Now, this is a big one because you have facts that are given to you by manufacturers. Then you have facts. And by the way, these injectors are not made specifically for your car. They're generic. So the manufacturer might be right, but it's not specific to your car. And then you have facts that are developed by engineers and people who make these cars. And then you have reality, right? Which is us, who are in the field doing the work, owners who are having issues, and owners, tuners, and builders who are having issues. And so we develop a formula for all this, a category of things that work and do not work. Obviously, parts that's been in the market for a very long time, there's going to be a lot of data on them. So it's easier to tune, easier to install, mannerisms are predictable. There's just so much data on it. But things are new, you're taking a risk, right? Obviously. So some things that are consistent, some injectors that are consistent. My favorite injector is the ID 1000, the old school ones. They're awesome. They don't make them anymore, but they're awesome. So I would say EVO 8s and 9s, if you're going to upgrade your injector, I hate to double buy stuff, right? So you want an injector now, next year you get the power bug and you want to upgrade. Now you need new injectors. So I would just go with the biggest injectors that you need, and which is for most people, one set of 2150s. There's a lot of opinion on this. Oh, they don't work well. They don't work well on stock cars. There's no point of doing that. I think injector technology has come so far that the 2150s work very well with the stock cars. And I would say most of our clients do run them. It's either that or the 1200 cc's FICs. Those are the only two injectors that I would recommend. And a couple of, well, my decision is based on price. So for example, ID 2000s are fine, but they cost a little bit more. And I feel like they're both kind of the same injectors. But let's try to, because I'm giving you a lot of information, let's try to categorize everything by power. So say you have a stock car and you want to max out the stock injectors. I'm sorry, the stock turbo. The stock injectors will hold you on 93. Whatever your stock EVO 8, EVO 10 turbo will do, your stock injector and your fuel pump on 93 will be able to support that power. Not so much on the EVO 8s and 9s, especially the 9 has a bigger turbo. So I would recommend an EVO 8s and 9 stock turbo. I would upgrade the fuel pump and the injectors. What I would ask you to do is do the AEM 320, again the 450 for same rules as follows, or Walbro 255. And then injectors, my favorite right now is the 1200 cc FICs. The ID 1050 is good. The ID 1300 is also good. But for anything below, I would say 600 horses, 550 horses on E85 or 93, it doesn't matter. I would recommend the 1200 cc's FIC, high Zs. Oh yeah, high Z. So the EVO 10 already runs high Zs. The EVO 8s and 9s kind of come with low impedance injectors, so I will recommend the high impedance injectors for those and get rid of the resistor on that. The reason why I like that is because think about it, these cars are what, 2003 to 2006, and what is that, like almost 20 years, and those resistor boxes never been changed. So I'm guaranteeing that your injectors are firing uneven. With them deleted, it's a little bit more manageable. And besides, the high Z technology right now is really, really good, so I prefer those. The EVO 10s, however, you will need injectors as soon as you go E85 or you cross 400, which means upgraded turbo or a camshaft, right? Again, same rule. I prefer the 1200 cc's for any one of these cars that is stock block. Okay, that injector goes for stock block for EVO 10s, 8s and 9s. Doesn't matter. Built motor, obviously, if you're gonna hit over 500 or 600, highly recommend the 2150s. Now, there's an oddball here, the 1700s. I personally feel that 1700 is not worth the money because it's almost the same price as the 2150s and you get more fuel. And I think the 2150 is a better, more superior fuel injector anyway, or the ID 2000 cc's. A lot of people will disagree. Again, this is my opinion. I'm not trying to insult anyone, but I've had clients come in here where the tuner's telling them, hey, don't go with 2150s, go to 17, they're better drivability. again, you know what I'm going to say. It's how used to you are to these injectors, how often you use them. I'm not knocking anyone. Go with what your tuner's saying, because he's literally telling you, I'm more comfortable with this versus this. So whatever he's more comfortable with, he or she, that's what you're going to get the better results out of. But when it comes to me, you have two options, 1200 cc's or 2150s. If I could, I would make everybody get the 2150s. But that's the fuel injectors, in my opinion. And that's the fuel system. And I think next, easier will be the easier, less shorter video would be on spark. Easier to cover, because the air portion of how the engine runs kind of ties in with turbos and manifolds and even the engine and the compression, and I need to think through like how I'm going to deliver the message. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope, this is off the top of my head. I just I'm like, I should just do a video on this, because I've been getting too many questions. And that's the number one question, right? What kind of fuel injector? What kind of pump? Everybody has different opinions, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this sheds some light on some questions you might have had, or some things you're seeing in the market, or with your experience with owning a car of this caliber. But if you have any questions, anything else, any ideas of what I should do the video on my next ones, please let me know, and I'll see you next time. And update, I don't know if you guys know about this car, but yeah, we're doing some things. As you can see, he's not kidding. Those are 15s with 26 tall. We're contemplating right now changing the turbo. He has a 3582. We're talking. He got a decision to make, but this tune is going to be very soon. We're still changing components and things like that. But I think you guys will enjoy it, and I'll see you next time. Thank you guys for sending the message. A lot of love, subscriptions. Thank you so much. Take care.